Hello everyone and welcome back to Animanga. Now I know you aren't used to seeing me on this segment and you're probably wondering what anime I'm going to talk about. Well, in this case I guess it's more of a pseudo-anime. Today I'm going to be talking about Star Wars Visions. Star Wars Visions is a 9-part Disney Plus exclusive series. It was released in late September of this year. Each episode tells an unconnected, unique, non-canon Star Wars story. And let me just say, there is some wild variety in these episodes. Not just in storytelling, but in the art style as well. Before I get a little deeper into this review, let me just clarify and say that I'm not a huge anime person. However, I am a blind follower of Star Wars and will consume any garbage Disney puts out with the Star Wars label on it. With all that being said, let's jump into this review. Oh, and spoilers ahead. As mentioned before, each episode is an unconnected and differently animated story, so I'll be going episode by episode and giving my overall thoughts at the end. The first episode of this miniseries was animated by Kamikaze Doga and is titled The Duel. It follows a wandering stranger and his call to defend a city from a group of marauders led by a Sith. Oh, and the Sith has an umbrella lightsaber? Pretty cool. In taking up defense against the marauders, it is revealed that he also wields a red blade. After successfully defeating the Sith by using some deception, this stranger wanders on to his next journey. This episode has one of the more unique animation styles and has very fluid action. Overall, I enjoyed this one. It has a very simple plot and it's well executed. What sets this episode apart is its animation style. I think it does a great job of setting the viewer's expectations for what comes next. The second episode is titled Tatooine Rhapsody and was created by Studio Colorido. I honestly think this episode has one of the most unique storylines ever attempted in Star Wars. It follows a band who has one of their members taken by Boba Fett because he owes Jabba the Hutt a debt. After much discussion, the band decides to try to rescue their bass player by convincing Jabba to give the band one more song. They play this song and everyone conveniently loves it, it rises to the top of the charts, and they convince Jabba to sponsor their band and spare their bass player's life. This episode is by far the biggest play on nostalgia and has a lot of dialogue that seems to parallel that of the original movies. Overall, not the best episode. It was fun, but it kind of dragged at some points and had a very predictable outcome. The third episode was produced by Trigger and is titled The Twins. This story follows two twins born from darkness with the sole purpose of restoring order to the galaxy. On the debut of their big weapon, one of the twins gets cold feet and decides to steal the kyber power supply of this weapon. This leads to some pretty intense conflict on the exterior of a Star Destroyer. This is an action-packed episode, but it's almost a little hard to follow at some points. Also, it was very hard for me to get over the not wearing helmets in space thing. I liked their droid companion as he had some pretty interesting and funny lines. The episode ends with both twins alive after the battle, and one escapes by cutting the ship in half using a combination of his lightsaber and hyperspace. This twin longs to find his sister and show her the light side of the Force. Star Wars has always been about relationships, and I like how this episode leaned into that. All in all, a very solid episode. Episode 4 was titled The Village Bride and was animated by Kinema Citrus. In this episode, we see a Jedi who is on the run. This Jedi is observing a village that is threatened by a warlord. This village has been forced to give up a leader to this warlord. The daughter of the chief offers to go, much to the chagrin of her sister. This causes her sister to attempt an ambush. With this ambush cut short, the Jedi must intervene. The Jedi is forced to reveal herself and save the village. I honestly really love this episode. I think it has some of the best action of the whole series. I think it does a good job of building the characters of the episode within a short time frame. This is definitely one of my top 3 for the series. Episode 5 is another top 3 episode for me. Episode 5 is titled The Ninth Jedi and was created by Production IG. This episode follows the daughter of a lightsaber smith as she is pursued by a group that is set on seeing that the Jedi do not return to the galaxy. Her father is captured and she must complete her mission in order to get the help she needs to save her father. Upon making her delivery, she discovers that most of these supposed Jedi are actually Sith posing as Jedi. Her and a select few others must defeat the Sith in a really well executed duel. What really does it for me is the focus on lightsaber colors in this episode. In this world, lightsaber color reflects your intentions and your alignment. The lightsaber will change based on your connection to the Force and who is using it. I think this was my favorite episode of the bunch, and if I had to pick one to be made into a series, this would be it. Episode 6 was created by Science Saru and was titled 2B1. This art style was the most cartoony of all the episodes in my opinion. This episode starts off light and fun, but quickly turns dark. The main character in this story is a cybernetic boy who longs to be a Jedi. This causes him to seek out a Kyber crystal. The main character's curiosity costs its creator their life. After this, he swore to finish his creator's life work and restore life to the planet where he was residing. In doing this, he attracts the attention of his creator's killer. A battle ensues that has the cybernetic boy victorious. This episode is quality and tells a full story, but there's nothing super memorable about it. I would say this episode is exactly in the middle of this series. Episode 7 was the one I was most interested in based off the trailers. This episode was titled The Elder and was animated by Trigger. This episode follows a Master Jedi and his adventure-craving Padawan as they explore a disturbance that was felt in the Force. This takes the Padawan and the Master to a small planet where they learn that an elderly man from an unknown tribe landed not too long ago. The duo decides to split up. The Master stays with the elderly man's ship, and the Padawan pursues on foot to the mountains. The Padawan ends up encountering the Elder and is thoroughly outmatched. The Elder senses a much stronger presence and injures the Padawan in an attempt to draw a worthy opponent. This works as the Master comes out to duel him. The Master later remarks that he didn't win the duel, but age caught up to the Elder and gave a really nice speech about how everything in life is immaterial in the end. This is definitely a top 3 episode for me. Episode 8 was made by Geno Studios and is titled LOPE and OCHO. This follows a bunny girl who is a runaway laborer from an Imperial camp. She stumbles upon a man and his nice daughter in a supermarket. The daughter wants to take her in, but the man is very stubborn. Eventually, he caves and they become a family over the next 7 years. However, the Imperial occupation of this planet is draining the world of its resources. The father and his original daughter began to fight over the merits of Imperial control. This leads to a falling out where the adopted daughter is forced to choose sides, and she sides with the father. In doing so, she receives the family blade, which is a lightsaber from long ago. She then uses her lightsaber to defeat her sister and slow down Imperial occupation of her home planet. This episode has a very nice perception of found family, and I can definitely appreciate that. Overall, not a bad episode, but not super amazing either. I put it on par with 2B1. Episode 9 is titled Akakiri and was produced by Saru Studios. This episode follows a Jedi who comes back to a planet to help his forbidden love reclaim her throne. In his attempt to do this, he ends up fulfilling his own destiny and joining the dark side at the cost of saving his love. He saved his love from a wound he gave her while in a rampage. I think the last act of this episode is pretty solid, but the rest of it is traveling to the throne, which drags on a lot. Also, personally, the art style in this episode did not sit with me too well. I feel like this episode just kind of ends with very little resolution. This is probably my least favorite episode of the series. When all is said and done, I think Star Wars Visions is a fairly well executed series and worth a watch if you love Star Wars or anime in general. As a hardcore Star Wars fan, it was sometimes hard to watch the rules of the universe be broken, but once you let go and unlearn what you have learned, it's not too bad. I do feel there are a lot of similarities in each episode. It kind of makes me wonder if Lucasfilm had required certain story elements for each episode. A lot of them had to do with connections to friends, family, and nature. Others dealt with defending innocence and the idea that looks can be deceiving. I think Visions is kind of like the Star Wars version of Aesop's Fables. For the most part, I really enjoyed the art styles of each episode. The one thing I wish is that these studios had more time to develop their stories and their characters. It was very hard to make connections with anyone throughout the series. That being said, I hope we get to see more content like Star Wars Visions in the future. What do you think? Is Star Wars Visions worth a watch? Make sure to tweet me at ZTV Goofing Off using the hashtag Animanga. Until next time.